there are skeptical people in your business looking at this and, hey, we want to come back with more study. I mean, even the CIA came back with us 41 times with new missions. They wouldn't do that if it weren't useful to them.
Are there any key things that make you believe everything that you've studied, over the course of 49 years?
It's not an event. It's collectiveness, the whole thing. I mean, for me, it's self-evident of the number of successes in the operational work. We're not cheating with that, and there are skeptical people in your business looking at this and, hey, we want to come back with more study. I mean, even the CIA came back with us 41 times with new missions. They wouldn't do that if it weren't useful to them.
After it was shut down?
No, before it was shut down.
Before?
Yeah. So, no, it's more the collective thing. For me, probably the most convincing evidence is that 17 of the 19 end users came back with wanting more stuff. Now we can go to statistics, and Jessica Utz will bore you to tears on the statistics, but nobody buys statistics.
Why bother?
Good question. I've thought a lot about that because, I've put a lot of effort in, so a lot of colleagues around. I mean, I don't want to give the impression I'm the only guy doing this. I'm not by any stretch. I guess I'm relying on Chuck Honerton's view of that, and I tend to agree with it, that we humans are faced with really interesting questions about, do we survive our deaths, for example? Everybody's interested in that, including me. Can I have a brief comment on that before I go a little further? I was invited to be a participant at the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture in Kolkata, India. I was the resident materialist of the bunch. And long story short, there was one of their monks was beating up on me and saying that there's something called promissory materialism. I don't know if you've ever heard that term. You're right. I can't write down an equation for love, but I promise you by next Thursday at 2 in the afternoon, well, maybe 1,000 years from next Tuesday, we'll have an answer, right? But so he started defending me on that, promissory materialism. And he was a bright guy, totally fluent in English and in PowerPoint useful. So I went up to him afterwards. I said, Swamiji, your whole philosophy, I love much better than mine, that you survive your death and you get to do all this other stuff. I wish that were true. Mine is last breath and that's it. And I said, but you have to modernize. You're basing it on philosophy that's 3,000 years old. And that was before we knew about brains and about genetics and all that good stuff. He said, you have to modernize that. And we worked for about 5 years together, he and I, over the net, over wasn't Zoom in those days, email, to try to figure out ways in which to modernize this. And we figured out he couldn't do it. So it remains in the realm of philosophy. At least he was interested in it, and so was I. So that was a side step. But you asked me why do it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think humans, including me, want to know the answers to these more spiritually oriented questions. Do we actually survive our death? Or better yet, how do we communicate with one another? We need to do a hell of a lot better job than we're doing now, for sure. And things of that nature. What is consciousness? Is Tononi right about consciousness? And all of those questions, maybe psi research as it currently exists may not answer those questions, but at least it's no new tools in the toolbox that someone later on will be able to use them and help them answer those questions.
What do you think consciousness is?
I think it's an emergent property of our brain. Straightforward. And Tononi, I buy Tononi's story tremendously. I will send you a link to that book, by the way. You should get it. It's fabulous.
Thank you. Edwin, we're wrapping up the interview. And, with all the stuff that you've been involved with and all of your studies, outside of remote viewing, what do you think we should be looking into?
As humans, you mean?
Is there anything that's come across your radar that you think that has to do with the subject?
Oh, okay.
It could be totally random, but what I'm asking, when it comes to ESP, human sensory, what haven't we touched? What do people not know about? What should we be looking into?
That's a good question. I mean, if I knew what we haven't touched, I'd go touch it. Mm-hmm. I'm more concerned politically where we're at as a culture, not only our country, but similar countries around the world. And that's a big threat to everybody. And this stuff's not going to help that at all, I don't think. But that to me is a bigger worry for me at the moment.
I think that's a worry for a lot of us.
No kidding.
Well, Ed, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. It was far more interesting than I thought it would be, to tell you the truth.
Oh, man, I could go on here, but...
How long have we been at this?
We've been going for about 5 hours now.
Oh, geez.
So, about in between 4 and 5 hours.
Doesn't feel that way at all, actually.
Goes by quick, doesn't it? Mm. But is there anything that I should be asking you that I haven't asked so far?
What do I do for fun? That's
what
important.
do you do for fun?
Well, I used to play a lot of golf. I'm horrible at it, but I still like to play it. My wife tricked me into it, damn it. Because I said, I'm not a Republican. I don't own one pair of checkered pants. Buzz off. So she conned me into it, carrying her clubs one day. And I said, oh, geez. And you're a physicist. Trouble is, being a physicist and knowing about golf, those are incompatible. You should not worry about in your head what's happening to the ball and how it's going to... No. The other thing is I do a lot of walking in the San Francisco Bay Area. Long distances, 11 miles at a crack.
That's pretty amazing for... Can I say your age?
Yeah, of course.
An 83-year-old man. You look...
No, you screwed it. 84.
84?
Yeah.
Oh, man. We are in amazing health.
No, I'm on my 84th trip around the sun. I've been there. It's boring. Same old sun.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
With all of the remote viewing and I've listened to... I researched Joe for a long time before he finally came out here. And there was a lot of stuff when it comes to outer space, are we alone, that kind of stuff. What do you think about that? Are we alone?
Well, who is it? I forget the long since dead philosopher, or semi-philosopher. He said his view was we're serially alone, which is pretty interesting. And the way he worded that was, we've been only to announce ourselves as a species to outer space since the invention of radio. So if there are other critters out there, and the probability of critters being there is virtually unity. If you look at the total number of, the number of galaxies, the number of stars in each galaxy, and the number of planets that are M-class planets like the Earth, I mean, the probability that there's life elsewhere is, in my view, damn near unity, for sure. Now, whether we'll be able to meet it is another question. But Carl Sagan, and what he said was we're serially alone, because in the years that it's been, 150 years since we had radio, and intelligent species like we are going to put ourselves out of business very quickly with global warming. We're going to kill ourselves off. So give us 1,000 years from the invention of a radio. The next 1,000 years, we'll all be gone. He says that's inherent to other species as well. So what's the probability of two 1,000-year chunks in 5 billion years? It's very small that they'll overlap. Pretty interesting argument. Whether it's true or not, who the hell knows?
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.